world and your intense world, and you got home from work, so they gave you more of it, and that made you emotionally attached to those characters, which drove product. There was an understanding of the platform that you were on, why you were there, and then they delivered creative and storytelling to give it to you. That is what I think about Facebook. 99% of you in this room, and 99% of the people in the world right now that are doing social media marketing, view social media as distribution. You view your Facebook fan pages and your Twitter accounts as distribution. You get users, and you tell them something to drive them to something. I believe that they are native platforms that people use that you need to figure out how to natively storytell under the psychology of why they're there. And so if you're on Tumblr because animated GIFs are fun, and you just need a quick laugh in the middle of your depressing day, intense day, awesome day, whatever you're there for, that it is a brand or business person, a real estate agent, an insurance agent, a wine merchant, or a Fortune 100 consumer toothpaste or soda, it is your job to figure out how to bring value in that platform and storytell awareness about your product. These are the things that are going on. Let's talk about Twitter. Let's be honest in this room, because we've been pretty honest here. By show of hands, how many people here, the first time they ever heard of Twitter, thought it was the dumbest shit they'd ever heard of? Raise your hand. Just curious. Higher? Twitter. 87%. Solid. I saw Twitter, and I truly thought that it was going to change my life, and I think that it has in some ways. I understood some core things about it. I understood that when people saw Twitter, that they were going to think it was about talking. Most of you just raised your hands, here's why. You know why you thought it was the dumbest shit? Because when you first saw Twitter, you said to yourself, why am I going to get a Twitter account? Who am I going to tell that I'm walking the dog? Who gives a rat's ass if I'm eating pizza? You thought, like most businesses, and you default into what am I going to say? Twitter is all about the cocktail party. It is the one open social network where anybody that says anything can be engaged with anybody else, and it is accepted/rewarded. You can't do that on Facebook because if you don't friend a brand or a business person, they can't talk to you, so it's not open. Twitter is a cocktail party. It is one of the most impressive consumer insights products of our time. Many brands, including my father-in-law who's in the crowd, told brands to spend tons of money on focus groups where they would take 12 consumers and put them in a weird fucking room with a bunch of old white guys behind the window, and we'd watch what you do. Who acts normal under those circumstances? Nobody. However, on Twitter and social networks, we're doing our thing. And we're putting out tons of content, tons of information about ourselves, tons of insight, and real-time feedback to what we actually think about things. And we as brand people, salesmen, business owners, marketers, need to realize that twitter.com/search may be the single most powerful website on the internet today, and I highly recommend you figure out what it is and what it does. Because let me tell you a backstory to Gary Vee when he had 0 Twitter followers. I used a site called Surmise.com. How many nerds remember that one? Raise your hand. Nerds. 2 nerds. Love it. Remember Surmise.com? I used it every day for 7, 10, 11 hours a day. You know what I did? Because I only had 200 followers. I only had 100 followers. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew my wine show. I searched Merlot and Chardonnay and Pinot Noir and Bordeaux, and people were saying things like going home tonight, having a bottle of red wine. And then I would jump in and I would say something very interesting. I would say, which one? I'd put in the effort. See, one of the biggest reasons I believe that social media is in a very interesting spot is it's clearly got a lot of momentum. A lot of people are thinking about it. But so many people are doing it wrong because 99% of the people and businesses that are using social media right now are acting like 19-year-old dudes. They're trying to close on the first move. So when you look at social, and you followed some brands, and you've been on Twitter, you know that people jump in. The normal move for a wine merchant would have been, oh, we have a sale on red wines, here's your free shipping code. Everybody's trying to close, nobody's putting in the work. This is why I often say that I truly believe that everybody's grandparents are more positioned to be successful on social than us in this room. Because the businesses that were built in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, they were built on sweat equity and scaling one-on-one. Right? And then you actually knew the context of your customer because we were all in small towns. I call it small town rules. We all lived in small towns and you knew things. Your neighbors literally hung their laundry outside. Everybody literally doors open. You would walk into the butcher's shop and he would be cutting your roast beef before you even fully walked into the store because he always did that for you. He had context. Everybody wants to talk about content. What do I put out? I promise you, the people in this room that take to heart what I'm talking about, the 1 or 2 people, because that's all it's going to be, because it's way too hard. What I talk about, by the way, is hard. It's a lot of hours, it's a lot of effort, and it takes away dollars from putting into working media, and it's putting into human beings to scale effort. So it's not very popular for CFOs that are running P&Ls, and it's not very popular for entrepreneurs in this room who have no fucking time, right? Everybody always says to me, well, when am I going to do this when I'm doing all my other stuff? Let's get to that right away. I promise you, if you leave this conference and you're inspired by anything I'm saying here, that if you go home and audit yourself and your 12-hour day, your 14-hour day, and oh, by the way, if you're an individual entrepreneur and it's not 12 or 14 hours, then good for you. Then, you have good work-life balance, but I promise you, one of the biggest reasons you're not crushing it is you're not putting enough work. That's another story. When you audit that, I promise you, including myself, and I'm very, very self-conscious about this, but I can't help it, I promise that if you go home after this conference and audit yourself and think about your 10, 12-hour day, and really look at it, 25% of the time you're spending on dumb shit. You're spending it on something that you can replace with an $8 to $12 an hour employee, or you're spending it on something you've historically done and you're just used to doing it, or you're doing something that actually just brings no to little value to your actual business. If you take that 25% of your time and you apply that to engaging and conversating with the end consumer of your business, you will see results. The person that is closest to the end consumer wins. How many people here are in the B2B business? Raise your hand. Nice, I'm glad I asked. Let's talk about B2B for a second. A lot of B2B people think that social's not for them, right? Like that, my customer's not on there. I have a bunch of 50-year-old dudes. They're not on fucking Twitter and Pinterest, right? So a lot of people on B2B don't think that it's for them. Let me give you just one tangible black and white move for B2B that will change your business. I think you should go to LinkedIn. I think you should find every person. See, I used to be in B2C. I sold wine, retail, e-commerce. Now I'm in B2B. I have a social media agency, right? They both have their pros and cons, right? No one customer in B2C can kill you, right? So that's nice. On the flip side, B2B is easy. You know who your customer is, right? You know the target. You know who are the people that will actually buy your product. So, for the B2B people in here, I highly recommend you go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn has gotten dramatically social over the last 12 to 24 months. They've expanded their product. You go and find who you're looking for. 30 to 40% of the accounts are now linked to a Twitter account. You follow that person on Twitter, and you do the following. You follow that person on Twitter, and you pay attention to everything they publicly say. I ask you, business people in this room, why did you go golfing with your client all those years? Why did you go out to dinner? Why did you take them to the ball game? You did it for many reasons, but the biggest reason, if you were smart, was to create context, to understand how that person ticked, what made them think, because people buy from people, right? And so you wanted to know, were they into sports, right? Did they have family issues, right? What was their life about? Did they love fishing? And you started to try to use that data to make you able to navigate through their lives and actually get their business. What's happening now, because of social media, because of the way we communicate has changed, you can now do that virtually. You can follow the 20 to 30 people that you want to do business with in B2B, and I highly recommend you follow what they talk about. 10% of them are going to have blogs, 40% of them are going to have Twitter accounts, and you can follow what they are publicly saying, and if you followed me, you want to get my business? Then hit me up and talk to me about the Jets, root beer, or Lionel fucking Richie, right? Then you got a shot. Talk about the things that I actually care about, and you've got a shot. So I highly recommend, for the people in this room that don't think it works on B2B, behind every B is a C. Behind every B is a human being. Map that person, watch what they're talking about in social, use that data point. Maybe they're talking about, want to go see that movie, and you send them Fandango tickets and say, hey, enjoy it. They're going to see that you're putting in that extra effort. Don't get crazy and try to buy their business. Show them effort. Better than doing that, make them a handwritten, make them a little poster of the movie with crayons. Show them you care. Put in the effort. Let's talk about communication. A lot of this stems from something nobody's talking about, something I'm getting very passionate about. Nobody's talking about this. We all collectively in this room agree that social media and technology and the web have changed the music industry, right? We all agree, right? We used to buy DVDs and CDs, and then, then we stole music on Napster. Now we're paying $1.29 for it because iTunes made it easy, right? So we all agree that music, can we agree that music has been changed? And we can agree that the publishing industry has been changed, right? How many people in this room now read their books on Kindle or iPad instead of the actual book? Raise your hand high. I need context. 60%, right? So it's changed it. There's something we're not talking about, which is that communication, the way we talk to each other, has been changed heavily by this, and nobody's talking about it. Let me explain. How many people in this room, by show of hands, were English or journalist majors in college? Raise your hand high. Very nice. I'd like to personally apologize to you. What's happened with the English language? You must be disgusted, right? Nobody can fucking spell, run on sentences, right? Do you know that I actually spell things wrong on my iPhone on purpose because I know it's going to autocorrect, and it's faster for me to spell it wrong than properly? I mean, it's got bad. So I apologize. There are grown-ass men in this room tonight who have texted OMG and LOL in the last 24 hours. Today, ironically, was Mark Zuckerberg's birthday, right? I'm friends with Mark on Facebook, so I saw that. So I went on there to go wish him a happy birthday. 84% of his wall posts were HBMK. 80. HBMK. That's where we're at. We have no time to say happy birthday, Mark. Right? Time is the number one, guys, supply and demand. Time is the number one value in our lives, which is why social is so interesting to me, because it is the one place that I truly believe, if you understand how to use it, that you can scale caring, which is the one thing we all want. We want effort and caring because it's so hard to get it now because we're all so damn busy and there's so much going on. I mean, no wonder our kids have ADD, right? I mean, so much is being thrown at us today. And so communication has been shifted. Let me explain to you how much this matters to your business, no matter what you do. As more people communicate and say things on social networks, it's changing the dynamic of word of mouth. How many people here feel that they have sold a product or their service or have done business in their career because of word of mouth? Because somebody said something about them and or their service, and that's how they got business. Raise your hand because I want to see it. Because I promise you, if you didn't raise your hand, you don't understand how business actually gets done. Everybody has done business because of word of mouth. It is the backbone of how business gets done. Social media is the infrastructure for word of mouth at scale. So let me explain. Nobody 10 years ago did the following. Nobody went to Pinkberry, got a watermelon yogurt, took a scoop and ate it, then took out their phone and called their friend and said, "Pinkberry's delicious." Nobody. Nobody 10 years ago ate a Snickers and called 3 of their best friends to tell them how delicious a Snickers is. However, now, somebody goes and has a Snickers, and one of their first intuitive moves is to go to a social network and say, "Snickers on Thursdays hits the spot." Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the fact that if you went to twitter.com/search right now and search thousands of big brand names, that you would see millions of people in the last 30 days referencing their product, pro and con. Communication, my friends, has changed. We talk about different things, we talk in a totally different language, and most of all, we have all become shareable creatures. It is now our intent and the way we're wired by the infrastructure of our society for us to think that we should share every last fucking detail. And all of you think it's fucking annoying, yet all of you do it. And this is very important because we think about it, we laugh about it, and a lot of what I've seen in the last 5 years from businesses about social media has been that they've not jumped in based on their religion on how they view society. They've not jumped in because they think Facebook is stupid. They've not jumped in because they thought Twitter was dumb. They've not jumped in because they think it's sad when they go out to dinner and they see a couple and they're both on the phone. They think that's sad. Let me give you a really strong statement. Being romantic about how you do business is the best way to go out of it. The best way to go out of business is being romantic about how you made your money. Go read the minutes of the Blockbuster board meetings 7 years ago of how they talked about Netflix. Go read that, because you know what? The 11 dudes on that board were freaking smart. They created billions of dollars in wealth for their companies and their businesses through the years. Yet, here's my favorite quote from that board meeting. No, we have nothing to worry about. The consumer, our data shows that the consumer loves the experience of going to the store and walking through the aisle and touching and holding the DVDs and picking up some popcorn. It's an experience. My ass. Nobody is going to pick that over sitting on their fat ass in their room and hitting order on their fucking on-demand and being like, awesome, let's watch. I mean, nobody. The only thing we care about is convenience and efficiency and saving money. In the next 24 months, as I stand here right now, Amazon is building 8 warehouses across America to deliver to you for free, same day, of anything you want to fucking buy. Who do you think should be worried about that? Everybody. Walmart and 7-Eleven, Costco, and Stop and Shop, everybody. Because the experience of going to the grocery store and squeezing the fucking tomato is not going to work. And so, my friends, we're living through the biggest culture shift of our time. We have not put the internet in the context of the printing press yet. We are living it. We're the creatures that are living it. Our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren will look back at this and talk about, my God, they lived through it. When this was born, the internet, it is changing our lives. And the audacity for us to think that we can treat our businesses and live in this world and treat them like it's 1994 anymore is nuts. For you not to understand, I don't care what you think. By the way, those 11 people, including my lovely mother-in-law, we'll be fixing that tonight, who are not on Facebook, I don't care. That's awesome. Good for you. If it doesn't bring you value, why, right? I don't have any religion for you not to be on it. But if you're in this room under the context of business, if you want to sell things, if you want to sell you, your service, your products, and you don't understand that a platform that, I don't know, has 1 billion fucking people on it isn't something that you should be paying attention to, then shame on you. That if you don't understand that if you're selling to 12 to 25-year-olds in this country, that yesterday, 280 million pictures were sent back and forth on Snapchat, then shame on you. How many people here have never heard of Snapchat? Raise your hand. There you go. Snapchat is a platform where you take a picture and you send it to somebody, and when they get it, they have to hold a button, and it disappears forever after 7 or 10 seconds. Originally, they said kids were sending nude pictures to each other because that's what old media wants to say about things like that. But what it is, it's a form of communication, right? It's a form of communication. How many people here have children or grandchildren that are between the ages of 13 and 19? Raise your hand. Let's talk about form of communication, back to something we just talked about. Do you remember 3 or 4 years ago, this conversation? Hey, little Ricky, I don't give a rat's ass how you talk to your friends, but when your mother or father call, you pick up the damn phone. You remember that? How'd that work out for you? You're fucking texting OMG, XOXO. You know why? Not because little Ricky was so smart, but little Ricky had technology on his side, and technology brought you down. When Facebook was getting going, I had these talks. Go look at them on the internet, 2006. Tons of hands, never gonna be on Facebook, stupid, blah, blah, blah. And I said something, I started noticing something very interesting. I called it the grandma effect. I started noticing that a lot of my friends were starting to have children, and they started putting pictures of those children on Facebook. And I realized it literally immediately. I'm like, I'm like, if Sally's putting pictures of little Ricky on Facebook, grandma's coming real fast on Facebook because she wants to see those pictures. That's exactly what happened. Trends will continue to happen. It is our job in this room to figure out how to storytell. Your push marketing tactics have value, but they're diminishing. We're living through a very interesting supply and demand curve right now, where the way you used to do it was expensive and was predicated on dollars, and it actually took physical dollars. Where now, because of the way the platforms are set up, because there's no gatekeepers, your ability to go direct to the consumer and scale that opportunity is now predicated on time, not dollars. And figuring out that curve and figuring out how to storytell and bring your value add is what you need to think about. And that, my friends, is where we're living right now. We're living in a world where people are spending 4.5 hours in front of their phone a day, and 18 minutes in front of a television in a certain demo that most advertisers are desperately trying to get a hold of. So what are we doing? Why are we going through the motions? Because we always say, you're living your lives like a consumer and you're marketing like a fucking dinosaur, right? You're marketing to not yourself, even though you're living it. And so I implore you to figure out a couple things. Number one, content. You have to figure out how to storytell for the platform. If you are trying to reach females between ages of 19 and 47 and you're not marketing on Pinterest, you're out of your fucking mind. Figure it out. And figure out why a picture on Pinterest needs to look different than a picture on Facebook. Because the reason that people are on Pinterest, from the psychology of it all, is two very fascinating things that if you're a business person, all of us can agree are interesting. Number one, aspiration. They pin things that they want or hope to achieve. And number two, way more interesting, intent to buy. Pinterest, for WineLibrary.com, now sells us more wine than Facebook and Twitter combined. So it's about understanding where we're going. It's about understanding that when a new platform, and listen, I didn't care about Pinterest. I got an email from a family friend who I do business with, Carl Johnson, who said, you need to meet these guys. They have a company called Pinterest 3 years ago. I never even took the meeting because I get so many. But when Pinterest had hundreds of millions of users, my religion went away very quickly, and I realized that I needed to figure it out. And that's what I implore, fast following in this room. You're crippled by all these things, all these articles, all these apps. Fast follow. Every app is big enough at a certain point that you won't be that far behind as long as you're paying attention a little. Write down techmeme.com, T-E-C-H-M-E-M-E. Read that every morning. You'll never fall behind a single product. It aggregates all the tech news. It gives you the stories that are the biggest. Click them. When you see something raised money or has a lot of users, click it, read it. But most of all, and this is my favorite, this has become less of the issue. But in 2009 and 10 and 11, the amount of people in companies and entrepreneurs and real estate agents and insurance brokers that gave me opinions around social networks, and then I asked them if they actually used it, was staggering. You've got to use this product. Vine, which I heard them mention earlier, 6-second videos, it's gonna work. Restrictions matter. We can tell stories in 6 seconds of video. So you know how you get good at it, or at least understand it? Go download the app and try to use it. Play around with it. You set a Google alert to get news about it. We are living through the biggest culture shift of our time. And the sad part is, and I'm just gonna put it out there, marketing and running a business has never been harder. There's massive fragmentation. It's never been harder. But the problem is, you have no choice, right? Some poor dude bought 1,500 horses the day before the car came out. He lost. Dude lost. The value plummeted. Go look at it. The market is going to do what it's going to do. It is our jobs not to socially commentate on the market. It is our jobs to figure out how to use it to drive the business results we have, to sell the homes if that's what we do, to place people if that's what we do, to sell wine if that's what we do. No matter what you do, these platforms are agnostic. You need to figure out how to storytell, filter through, execute against your KPIs and your business objectives. Stop complaining about it, stop crying about it, and go out and execute. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Q&A. Can I do that? Do I have time? Yeah? We're good? I want to do some Q&A. I actually kind of wrapped up a little bit earlier to do Q&A. Do you have a mic, or should I like...
Hold on for a second.
Can you put this on and I can do this? Yeah, sure. Cool. Get to work, Desi.
Oh, its battery's going dead. You know.